Hello everyone, and welcome to the library. Today we are going to be doing review of everything that has been happening, as well as world building for the world of Nephalia, which you can see on the screen right there. Welcome back to the channel. A lot of things have changed, a lot of things will be changing going forward. A little bit of update on me, update on the channel, update going forward. So, life kind of kicked me in the balls, right? I got a new puppy, I got a new job, and those things impacted writing, which I was doing. I was starting to write the novel, and I had stopped streaming pretty regularly. I didn't have the desire to stream anything. I didn't want to hop on and play any games. I didn't want to hop on and do anything, and so a decision came in order to reinvigorate my desire to stream again. So I decided a rebranding campaign is the way to go forward. So we've rebranded. We are the Lore Masters Library. We're going to be doing D&D content. We're going to be doing Dungeons & Dragons videos with the campaign. However, we are going to be stopping the playthrough test of the Fate of Nephalia, the big campaign that we had going. That content's not going away. I'm going to archive that. It's going to be available because I still want the process of how we get to the final product available for everybody to watch to their heart's content, kind of thing, right? After that, we're going to be doing lore videos and world building for the Fate of Nephalia, and lore videos on Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. So, as you can see, we've got Fate of Nephalia up on the back right now. It's ready to go. I've got world building we're going to be doing today. With that, we're going to get started. So, we have timelines and we have the master timeline from creation onwards. We're at year 0, and this is a celestial event. This is hour 1 of existence to year 299, the last day of the last month of the last hour. Birth of the universe. Creation was dark and empty. Nothing stirred in the cosmos, full to the brim with the directionless primal energies. Then suddenly, light came. Somewhere within the energies, something stirred to life. Beings known as gods gathered the energies around themselves as they spun creation into existence. Somewhere deep in the outer reaches of these existences, beings were awakened by the light. Now conscious of existence, they moved their forms for the first time. At first there was nothing. Then there was everything. No, it was empty and dark, full of, liquid soup. Dawn of Nephalia, right? Seeing other creations birthed into the universe, the beings on the edge set out to mimic it. They took primal energies of fire, earth, water, and wind, forcing them into the shapes of the bubbles of the material space that made the Strange One's creations. Nephalia was born empty and lifeless. Nothing grew, nor did anything change as the beings looked on to their creation. They could not understand why their creation was not changing like those of the other beings. Unable to determine the problem, they turned towards the other beings' bubbles of existence. They peered through the window at the fledgling worlds and realms growing. They saw these gods had grouped together and weaved themselves into their creations. They were the catalyst that allowed life to burgeon. The beings from the edge watched for some time as they learned the intricacies of the process. When they returned to their realms with creation, they started at their work again by surrounding their world and realms with the leftover energies they had used to create it all. With the bubble formed around their creation, they needed a catalyst to start the process. Unlike the other beings that used themselves as the catalyst, the edge beings did not want to be trapped in place by their creation. The beings returned to the other bubbles, determined to discover another way to breathe life into their creation. They watched again these gods and their creations. They watched and watched until they understood the energy they used. Finally, they returned to their creation to witness something spectacular, yet horrifying. Strange things traversed the space they had created. Moving elemental energies populated their creation. This was not what had troubled the edge beings. Instead, they were worried after strange creatures that swarmed from a gaping maw of twisting energies. They swarmed forward, consuming everything in their wake. Seeing their creation being destroyed by these strange creatures, the beings acted, throwing their might at the creatures. With one swipe, the creatures were eradicated along with the energy beings that had been there. Once they looked upon their creation again, they saw the devastation they had wrought upon it. As though nothing had happened, the creatures swarmed from the whole once more to consume. Seeing this, the beings needed to act before their creation was gone completely. They took the knowledge they had learned from the gods and their other creations and formed that magic into two sets of beings. Order and chaos were born with this one action. Angels embodied order and law made from divine energies like the other gods, while devils were chaos and anarchy made from what was left over from the divine energy used on the angels. Two halves of one whole were created. With the weave of life situated into their creation, they spoke down in the only way they knew how, commanding that their creations act in haste to eradicate the plague that spewed forth from the strange portal. The gods had seen these creations before in other bubbles, but in those realms they had been controlled. How and why needed an answer, and they left their creation to fend for themselves against the tide of demonic energies. Alright, so that's year 0, ladies and gentlemen. Year 0 is the dawn of creation. It lasted 300 years. I will be altering this timeline as I go on. I'm going to be filling it with the knowledge that I have currently of Nephalia, what I have solidified in Nephalia. So, we are in the dawn of Nephalia. We are in the year 2099, the last day of the last month of the last hour. The era of the divine struggle. The divine struggle. Era abbreviation. This will be known as DS start date. 300. The year 300 to the year 1000. This age starts in the year 300. This will outline the war of the heavens and the hells. This is going to be known as War Between Divine and Demonic Timelines. This will be from creation onward. The year starting will be the year 300. This will be the month, 1 day, 1 hour. Ending date will be the year 99, 9. Month 11, day 74. 23rd hour. So, angels, devils were created. First thing they heard was strange voices telling them to quell a strange horde that was pouring from a twisting demonic portal. So, a little bit of lore for everybody who's here who doesn't know how Dungeons and Dragons work, right? Every single world that you find in Dungeons and Dragons, be it Faerun, Eberron, Ravenloft, stuff like that, right? All of these realms that have been created by other creators, all of the campaign modules take place on Faerun, and every single world is constructed in a very specific way. You have a material plane, and then you have two planes that basically are adjacent. They are more like expanseless areas that traverse all of existence. You have the Shadowfell, and you have the Feywild. Then you have a realm that overlaps it all, which is known as the ethereal plane, the realm of the dead. From there, you have several other realms that circle the material plane, and they go through every known alignment, from good, lawful good, actually at the top is lawful good, and that is the realm of Celestia. That realm is home to angels and gods and beings of pure good and law. And then from there, it's kind of like a clock. It goes lawful good, good, chaotic good, and then it goes neutral, right? And so it'll go lawful neutral, neutral, chaotic neutral, and then instead of... So then you reverse this side of the tree, right? So you have chaotic evil at the bottom. So lawful good, chaotic evil is at the bottom. So you have all of the alignments, right? Chaotic evil, evil, lawful evil, and then you have alignmentless. There are 3 alignmentless realms. So we have those realms that encircle it, right? So we have the realms of order and chaos, law and chaos, and then outside of that, we have So Mount Celestia is angels and gods. The chaotic evil is known as the Nine Hells, or Bator, and it is home to the devils and chaos. It is home to also the at the very bottom. It is overseen by the Archduke of Devils, known as Asmodeus, and he controls the entry to the abyss. And the abyss is where demons come from. So devils are not demons. That is going to be something that people are going to have to understand moving forward. Devils are divine, while demons are demonic. Devils control chaos, while demons are entropy. There's the differentiation between devils and demons. Devils make deals. They try to steal your soul. So their goal is to, and which I'll go over in the brief description of First Light. The distinction between divine and demonic is divine is creation. Divine is life and existence, while demonic energies are heat death of the universe, entropy. It is the absolute desire to consume and destroy all living things. They are juxtaposed to each other, just like order and chaos are just juxtaposed. Now, mind you, don't confuse chaos. Chaos is not anarchy. I should specify that as well. In the terms of D&D, chaos is not anarchy. They still follow rules. They still follow order. However, it is a different sort of order. Their goal is to cause discord, strife, struggle, opposing mindset. While order wants everything to be perfect in a very specific way, they want to brainwash everybody. Think of it like that. Order wants to brainwash everybody to act one way. They want existence to be one way, while chaos truly embodies free will and spirit, the ability to choose what you want to do. So there is the difference between all of these factions, right? So to give you an idea of what I'm going to be getting at with the First Light and telling the story of the angels and the devils, right, is angels are going to sit up high on Celestia, and the devils are going to be restrained to holding the portal. They're going to be tricked by the angels into holding the portal of their own free will against demons. And so devils are the front line against demons. Now, mind you, demons get out of hell all of the time. There are plenty of ways for demons to get out of the Nine Hells of Bator and into the rest of existence. And that is when the angels come into fight. So the story that we're about to go through from year 300 to year 99.9 are aligned together. Yes, they are aligned together, and they have always been aligned together. Asmodeus is actually an angel. So this is a little bit of lore that I'm going to get into when I do my lore videos. Asmodeus, the Archduke Devil of the Nine Hells, is actually an angel. So it's divinity versus demonic, not good versus evil. Yes, it is not good versus evil. It is divinity versus demonic, life and death, entropy. Death is part of life. The devils are going to be tricked into using their free will to be the guardians, the gate guards to the abyss. They guard that portal, and only so many demons can get out. So devils use their deals with other mortal races for their souls by giving them things they couldn't otherwise have so that they have new troops. Because devils, when they die, do not reincarnate. They are dead. So are angels when they die. You can create new angels and new devils by, for example, devils use the souls of tricked individuals, while angels use the souls of those that enter the afterlife having reached a certain goal, Valhalla, following a certain god, that kind of thing. Demons, when they die, their energy goes back into the abyss. They reform and can come back out. It's a big, long struggle. Devils are tricked by angels' free will to guard the gates of the abyss in the Nine Hells of Bator, while angels get to sit high on Mount Celestia. Angels and devils were created. As they came to, the first things they heard were strange voices, telling them to quell the strange horde that was pouring from the twisting demonic portal. Their directive mind, these beings known as the Divine, set out on this goal. Together, they created Mount Celestia. Here, angels and devils lived together while battling demons. The war began. Soldiers from Celestia would travel to the Maw and do battle. Bloody, bloody conflicts, right? This is the standard angels versus demons, Diablo kind of bullshit, right? This war would be ceaseless. Now, angels and devils could procreate, right? They would discover the means of procreating themselves by continuing to utilize divine energies left over from the creation of existence, right? And each of these exist like these forces, the angels and the devils. Angels and demons would learn how to procreate, right? Each of these forces, angels and devils, were led by a council of their strongest, wisest, and oldest, which consisted of 13 beings each. So during the last conflict of the first era, right? This era of the war between divine and demonic, the angels and the devils were not able to procreate as fast as demons were, right? Demons are an endless tide of entropy. Everything that ceases to exist in any realm, right, in between creations, fuel beings from the abyss. It creates new beings. It allows new entities fueled by certain aspects of creation. For example, Demogorgon and Orcus are two devils, right? Orcus is the demon prince of undeath and servitude, right? But he has not always been around, at least as far as I know. He's probably, according to D&D lore, always been around. But Orcus in Nephalia has not always existed. Orcus was created by countless deaths, stars burning out, and the mortal sins, really, of bringing people back from the dead is pretty widely known as evil, right? Necromancy is considered evil. And servitude, right? Bending others to your will. While the demons were continuing to get stronger, right? They can send more and more out. With more that they consumed, more life and existence they snuffed from existence, from creation itself, the stronger they got. While angels and devils had to come together, merge their energies, and create, right? So they had to create new angels. They had to mold themselves, really. And so they weren't able to do it nearly as fast, right? Because every conflict resulted in more deaths of angels and devils all across the multiverse. And this fed the abyss, which means more demons, which means more conflicts, which means more death, which means more demons, more conflicts, more death. Vicious cycle. During the last conflict, devils and angels were reaching a boiling point. So, we have this battle, the final conflict of the 700-year war, right? Where devils and angels started fighting each other. They started disagreeing of means of being able to continue this endless war. This endless war was getting a point where less and less of the devils and angels were able to be spawned. They were running out of troops. They were running out of fellow brothers and sisters and other beings that they had shared existence with up to this point. This is the final conflict that would be during this war. Instead, the councils of 13 met and plotted a means to cease the ever-flowing tide of entropy. Asmodeus would make a deal with the devils, where he would go with the devils and forge a prison around the maw of the abyss to be the guardian of existence, right? Just because there were less devils than there were angels does not mean that the devils were weaker. Angels, being beings of order and law, they're slower to act than beings with free will. While both of them had councils, the angels kept a tighter leash on their count, like their like individuals, right? They wanted a plan before they acted. So this could take years, right? While the devils, beings of free will, they would just charge ahead without their council. Now, the council would usually side with them. However, they were faster to act. They knew that the horde needed to be quelled, and the devils were always the ones on the front line. It is only after hundreds of years of conflict like this, where the angels were always the ones coming in to clean up, while devils were the ones on the front lines, truly risking themselves to quell the biggest portions of these hordes that would escape, right? And this is truly what built up, right? Firstly, angels and devils were created as they came to. The first things they heard were strange voices telling them to quell a strange horde that was pouring from a twisting demonic portal. The directive in mind, these beings known as the Divine set out on this goal. Together they created Mount Celestia. Here, angels and devils lived together while battling demons. Here, a war began. Soldiers from Celestia would travel down to the Maw and do battle with demons. If they managed to escape the abyssal Maw towards the other realms, the forces of Divine would hunt them and kill them. Each of the forces of angels and devils were led by a council of their strongest, wisest, and oldest, which consisted of 13 beings each. This battle consisted of several bloody conflicts, which resulted in the weakening forces of the Divine. During a final conflict where both devils and angels started fighting each other, here is when the councils of 13 met and plotted a means to cease the ever-flowing tide of entropy. The beings of Order Angels would send their strongest, wisest, and oldest that still remained. From the creation date, Asmodeus made a deal where he would go with the devils to forge a prison around the maw of the abyss and be the guardian of existence. Angels, being of Order, used the chaotic free will of their siblings against, tricking them into accepting a role as wardens of the demon's prison. 11 angels would remain after Asmodeus left the devils, while only 8 devils remained from these bloody conflicts. Angel councils were slower to act when hordes of demons escaped them all, while devils with their free will charged headlong into the conflict ahead of their councils. After hundreds of years of this, the devils became agitated with the angels due to their inactivity. So, we have the birth of the universe, and the war between the divine and the demonic, era beginning and end, first light. So we're going to make a couple more timelines in here, because there's a few of the important wars that we need to pay attention to. The first war, which was the overwhelming win against the demons. So this battle is the turning point of the divine-demonic war. This is when more demons than angels or devils was popping out of the hole, right? So it was becoming 2-to-1, 3-to-1 odds during these battles. Finally, the growing strife between siblings. So, the growing strife between siblings is finally when the inactivity of the angels and the overactivity of the devils were finally starting to butt heads. A few individuals had started to take notice of it, and after a few battles fought against the demons, they started to think that the way they had been doing things were wrong. Certain members of each council had come forward to try and figure out a better plan going forward that would cause the angels to react a little faster to demonic outbreaks, while the devils would slow down, allowing the angels enough time to gather their forces. Right? Eventually, this would result in the rebellion of the divine. The rebellion of the divine is when our creation takes a turn. The discovery of Nephalia, which is what it will be known as. It is the material plane of this existence. It had yet to be discovered. It had existed in this plane, right? But it had been untouched. The demons were busy chewing on the outer realms. Order and chaos, these places with almost expanseless horizons, right? So the angels and devils had never left the outer ring of realms. And they had finally broken away, chasing a horde of demons to the inner realms, which they hadn't even known about. They hadn't even gone there, hadn't even discovered it yet. It's kind of like Christopher Columbus of realms, right? They discover a new realm, and they decide to fuck each other and everything they find. So, angels and devils chase some demons to the material plane of Nephalia. They kill the devils, or the demons. And these were the rebellion, right? These were the people that stood in the outskirts of the war and were like, we need to stop doing it this way. And they refused to partake. But when demons broke through and started to escape, instead of chasing the main force chasing them, the rebellious angels and devils decided to do it for them, right? They can't let it go. It is their prime directive to destroy all demons. So they chased them to the material plane. When they got there and killed the demons, they discovered a paradise away from the war, away from the struggle, away from the disagreements between devils and angels. No more butting heads. So, within 100 years, they decided to intermingle, right? Trying to discover a new way to procreate, right? Divine energies had allowed strange existences to sprout life on Nephalia. The giants, born of primal energy, and the dragons, born of primal energy. They had control over the elements, like the elementals that stayed to their elemental ring outside of existence, had somehow found their way to Nephalia. And the two first species sentient to evolve on Nephalia were both giants and dragons. And the angels and devils were by far more powerful, right? These were fledgling, like dragons and giants. These guys were infants compared to these beings that had showed up randomly and started flying around. The devils and the angels decided to do what the other life forms were doing in order to procreate. They were fucking, right? Easiest way to describe that. So they decided to mimic that. And that had resulted in a new being, a new race being born, the Nephilim. The Nephilim were a mix of angels and devils, and they held the powers of both order and chaos at their beck and call. And we'll go over that when we finally get to their era of existence, right? But they're nothing but a fledgling race as well. So angels and devils escape, they fuck. The end of the war happens. Asmodeus takes the rest of the angel, or takes the devils, abandons the angels to go and create a prison. So, that is the trickery of Asmodeus. So, there are 5 more, or 6 more, events that happen during the year 300 DS and 999 DS. So, they returned home, victory sweet on their tongues, the forces of the divine celebrated. Believed naively that the forces of entropy had been driven off permanently. So to kind of elaborate on what that means, during this phase, angels and devils acted as singular units rather than a whole entity. They did not form their council yet. Right? They did not form their council. They did not create plans and actions to take. They kind of just went out, did their civic duty, and returned home, and started doing whatever they wanted. This would soon come to an end with the next conflict, right? So this ends the first battles of conflict. It's very brief, right? They won this battle, no issue. It took all of but 3 years of purging these beings from existence. It's not very long in the grand scope of things, but this is where battles began to change, right? Let's go from creation onward timeline. We now see 401 to 403 DS. So, within the scope of things, a minor event has occurred. A military action, the first conflict, a military action, the first battles of the conflict, right? So we're going to create another one, right? Create a new historical entry. The tides shift towards entropy. The year 450, we're going to start at this date, right? So from year 403 to year 450, it was peace. The year 450, month 3, day 15, hour 1, right? This is when the horde of demonic beings decided to re-enter the realms of Nephalia. And these conflicts, the turning tide, the tides shift towards entropy conflicts, will be conflicts that last from the year 450 to the year 899, right? After decades of peace and advancement, a new threat arises from the maw of the abyss. Demons spew forth once again in greater numbers than before. So, demons, unlike other beings, formed from entropy. Once creation dies, it enters the abyss to spew forth, claiming more for the end times. Basically, what this means is the more that the demons are able to consume and destroy when they are out and about out of the abyss, the stronger the abyss will grow. So, during this time, the tide's shifting. Several decades of peace and advancement. A new threat arises from the maw of the abyss. Demons spew forth once again in greater numbers than before. Demons, unlike other beings, are formed from entropy. Once creation dies, it enters the abyss to spew forth, claiming more for the end times. Conflict resumes. Angels and devils grew lackadaisical. They were unprepared for the second wave. Demons spewed forth and began consuming creation once more. Their numbers allowed for faster consumption. Several conflicts took place during the span of the growing tides. The numbers began to rise on the side of the demons, while angels and devils started falling. Slowly at first, one or two of the forces of the divine fell to the growing tide. Then the number rose exponentially. During the worst of the conflicts, the forces of divine settled on forming councils that would allow them to formulate plans and direct their forces. Angels began to bicker and debate decisions. Order had to prevail, all else. They slowly reacted to threats at hand, choosing a time and place to attack the demonic hordes for greatest efficiency. Devils launched guerrilla warfare against the demon tides. The council waited to mediate the devils and angels' plans as they battled the demon hordes. Demonic. Should definitely be demonic. The demonic hordes. Each tactic was effective in their own rights, while causing other issues down the road. Devils lost far more troops to the demons in attempts to slow their ravenous charge. This saved much of the outer planes' form. However, the extinguished life forms fueled the growing abyss greater than the raw materials would have. Angels' tactics were the most effective at slaughtering the hordes en masse, with direct and thought-out plans. However, this resulted in the loss of more life on the part of their kinfolk. This also resulted in the loss of more raw materials from the outer planes. Slowly, the forces of the divine lose this conflict. We're going to view this event. So, tide shift towards entropy. Year 450, day 15, month 3, hour 1, to year 899, day 74, month 11, hour 23. The tide's shifting. I already read all that fun stuff. So here we go. We have another event on our timeline. So let's go over here. We see our timeline, and we start moving forward. Next, the growing strife between siblings. Okay, so, right, they joined forces together to completely drive the demonic hordes in the realms of creation. So their goal was to create a plan that would completely stop the need for devils and angels to completely throw themselves at a task that they could not hope to complete, right? The forces of the demonic energies were growing. The abyss was growing stronger with every single soul that passed within the realms of creation. Angels and devils needed to find a permanent solution. This is what would lead to the idea that Asmodeus has in order to trick the devils into imprisoning themselves as the wardens of the abyss. So Asmodeus' plan to imprison the demons